Hello, my name is Jason Record, and I'm a SUSE Linux escalation engineer. I've been with SUSE for many years, and today I want to talk about how to capture an application core dump. Sometimes when applications misbehave, they will crash, and we need to capture that data so that our engineering team can open it up and debug it to see if there's any problems. So today we're going to look at how we do that. Now, generally speaking, as support engineers, we don't have access to the server itself, and so we would expect to receive a support config with information about the problem, and then we would generate a support config analysis report to do an initial analysis. So I'm going to show that on our server here, I have already captured that data. And so here we see that I've got a support config from the server that's got the problem, and the customer reports that the problem is their cron is not working properly. They're not getting any cron jobs running. And so we need to find out why that might be. So we've gotten the support config, which is this TXE file, and we've generated a support config analysis report. There will be another tutorial on that later. So let's go ahead and open up the support config analysis report and see what the initial analysis looks like. So go into a web browser, and since I happen to have this report on my server, I'll just open up the file. And here we see that the server is SLES15SB3. It is a virtual machine. And if we come down to the basic health check, we see that we do have one issue with a basic health check, and it tells us that cron is turned on at boot time, but is currently not running. So clearly the customer expects the cron service to run, but it's not running. And we look at the other health check information, we see that basically the server has enough disk space and there aren't other issues. We'll go into those a little bit on a different video. So now if we come and look at the critical incidents, we see that there are two, and it tells us that the cron has crashed. There's a core dump for cron in the journal, and that it's in a failed state. Well, this kind of matches what the description the customer's given us, is that cron is not working, and here we know that it's dumped core at least once. And so you can click on, in this support config analysis report, you can simply click on the title, and it'll open up the TID associated with that issue. And now you can go through and follow these steps in the technical information document to learn how to capture that core dump. But we're going to demonstrate that today. So I'll close this browser out, and we'll get onto the server. Now we're going to transition and assume that maybe we've started a dial-up with the server. With the customer rather, and here we're going to take a look at the server and try and fix this problem with the cron. All right, so the first thing we want to do is check the status of cron. We see that it's failed, and we see that it's received a signal seg-v, which matches the core dump. So now we need to do sudo for this one. Core dump CTL, and we'll do a list, and we see that there are several crashed instances of cron. So what we want to do is capture the latest one, which happens to be this bottom one here. So we're going to go to use an application that ships with the Sport utils package called get app core to capture the core dump. Now, the core dump, the get app core application requires that you have the GDB binary installed. That doesn't ship by default with SLES15. You have to add the developer toolkit for it. you have to add that repository. Now, once the repository is added, then you need to install GDB and then get AppCore work properly. So here we're going to just use the -J switch and pick the process ID, which is the last one. You'll notice it's the bottom one on the list here, and we'll press enter. So the get AppCore extracts that particular core dump from the journal, captures all the additional data on it, and saves it as a file. And down here, you'll notice that it gives the file name where all that data has been put. This file you want to upload and attach to the case, the AppCore TXZ file. Sorry, you want to attach that to your case with SUSE, and then so that engineering can take a look at that core dump. But before we go too far and write a bug or engage even SUSE or escalation teams, we want to take a look at the AppCore and see, especially the log files, to see if they tell us anything about this particular crash. To do that, we're going to change to the directory that the file was saved in. And here we'll see that we've got the get AppCore file here in the tarball. And we're going to go ahead and extract that. As we extract that, we change to the directory. And here we see I have a logs directory. In the logs directory, we've got this check bin log. This is important. Check bin is another utility that checks the health of an application. So let's take a look at the check bin log. Now in here, you'll see that it checks not only the binary that we have in question, but it also will look for any shared object libraries and validate those libraries to make sure they're okay as well. And in this case, we see we've done an RPM validation on the Crony package, and we see that the user sbin cron binary has had its size, MD5 sum, and timestamp change since it was installed. So that creates a problem. We don't know why those have changed, but the first troubleshooting we could do is to reinstall the Crony package to make sure that we have passed validation. And so if we just run an RPM validate on Crony, we see that the binary is damaged somehow. So let's just do a reinstall of the Crony package. By reinstalling it, we're going to get that binary back to what we expected to be in the package. And we'll say yes. And then we'll retest to see if there's a problem. So now that we've installed the package, we're going to restart the cron service. And now we're going to check the status of the cron service as well. Okay, we see that it's running, and this was apparently the problem. The cron was damaged somehow, and by reinstalling the package, we don't even need to submit a ticket with SUSE or escalate it to our engineering team because we've resolved the problem by reinstalling the package. So it's a good thing to look at the check bin log just to make sure. Now, let's say you have an application that is behaving oddly, maybe hasn't even crashed, or you want to check the output before you run a get AppCore, even though get AppCore runs it for us. Let's go ahead and run a check bin manually. So we're going to run, and check bin is again, comes in the support utils package. We're going to give a path to, let's do the status here. If we do a status, we can see it's user sbin cron. Sudo check bin user sbin cron. Now we've get AppCore run this for us, so we don't have to. But if we wanted to just check an application before we ran get app core, we can do that. And now if we do, let's take a look at that log file that it gave us. And in here we see that the cron executable, we get more now. So apparently there was enough damage that it couldn't access its shared libraries. But you'll see now that the status has some differences, but the differences just happen to be in PAM and updated links. I don't see any corruption or damage. And this time, checkbin has not only validated the crony package that owns the cron executable, it's validated all of its shared libraries. And these are all of the RPM packages that have shared libraries, and they have all passed validation. Plus, we saw that the cron service was running properly. So this has resolved the problem. So what we've learned is not only how to get an application core dump if it's present, but also to run checkbin to check the health of an application. Thank you very much.